Apple finally made the most interesting iPhone in years, and nobody's buying it. The iPhone Air is the phone that promised everything that people have been asking for. Lighter, thinner, and just simpler. But instead of this phone taking off, it's actually not doing very well, and it looks like it may be quietly killed off. Every year, iPhones get thicker, heavier, and a little bit more pro. The iPhone 17 Pro Max, despite moving back to being made of aluminium, is one of their thickest and heaviest phones in years. And then out of nowhere, not really out of nowhere because we already kind of knew, Apple dropped the iPhone Air. A ridiculously thin iPhone that honestly felt like it came from the future, something that Steve Jobs himself would have designed. The iPhone Air was the perfect middle ground form factor wise. It was bigger than the iPhone 17, but not quite as big as the 17 Pro Max. This made it really comfortable to hold. You could genuinely use this phone with one hand. And it finally felt like something new from Apple that wasn't a Pro Max Ultra XDR type thing. It feels like Apple for once is finally not chasing specs and performance and outdoing themselves. They're finally focusing on the little things, not chasing performance and instead usability. The engineering was extremely clever as well, by housing all the main core components in this camera bar that allowed Apple to fill the rest of the phone with battery, which, let's be honest, it really needed. The battery was obviously also the thinnest they'd ever had in an iPhone as well, and it honestly felt like the iPhone Air was going to pave the way for Apple's first foldable iPhone. So what went wrong with the iPhone Air? Was the price too high? Was it the single camera system? Or fears over the battery life? Or did Apple just forget who the iPhone Air is actually for? So you have this beautifully thin design that cost more than the iPhone 17, but actually ended up giving you less for your money. And of course, the iPhone Air came with compromises. Obviously, one singular camera, only a mono speaker, no speakers at the bottom of the phone, and it was also eSIM only, which for a lot of people was a first. I don't know, it's just like Apple designed this phone for a minimalist, but ended up pricing it for a maximalist. No one really knew who this phone was for. It sat right in the middle of the iPhone 17 base model and the iPhone Pro and Pro Max lineup. For $999, who could really afford something like this with a single camera setup, a potentially weak battery life, and it just felt like an enthusiast phone above all else. It wasn't cheap enough to replace the base iPhone 17, but it wasn't powerful enough to tempt Pro or Pro Max users to downgrade to it. Apart from me, of course. It also didn't have enough camera flexibility as well. I mean, one single Fusion camera system is not going to be good enough for quite a lot of people now, because everyone just takes so many more photos. And also in the keynote when they announced the iPhone Air, they also introduced it alongside a thinner power bank, which automatically gave the impression that the battery life in this thing is not going to be good and you're going to need their additional power bank. However, in my testing, despite being quite a light phone user, it's actually been alright, lasting me 1 to 2 days. Within weeks of the iPhone Air's launch, analysts were already calling this thing a flop. According to Nikkei Asia, these were reaching near end of production levels, and it only literally just come out. That's pretty much corporate speak for, yeah, this is not selling at all. Research from KeyBank also found that there was virtually no consumer demand for the iPhone Air either. And that's a lot harsher than what they said about the iPhone mini, which we all know what happened to. So Apple's factories start dismantling their production lines for the iPhone Air, and then we get told that an iPhone Air 2 is on the horizon. However, in recent news, that has now been delayed indefinitely. So the iPhone Air is kind of stuck in time really, because there's no new release on the horizon, and it's got all the drawbacks that I mentioned. It's just silence from Apple, which is very unlike them. Apparently the redesign is still being worked on for 2027, so we'll have to see what happens there. But by then the iPhone 18 will be out, and it will really make people question what is even the point of the iPhone Air, and it might even end up getting quietly killed. Alongside stuff like the lovely iPhone mini, this could reach the same fate. And also Apple's air-powered charging mat as well. Wait a minute, that never even released. Which is why ESR decided to make their 3-in-1 charger portable. So now you can snap on your iPhone there, you can charge your AirPods there, and you can flip this out and charge your Apple Watch. ESR's new 3-in-1 Qi 2.2 chargers come with CryoBoost technology. Normally when you wireless charge your phone, they tend to get very hot very quickly, so much that I normally just plug my phone in directly with the wire. However, ESR have solved this problem and they've actually got an active cooling fan inside, which can actually help keep your devices cool when they're charging. Not only does it keep your devices cool, but it can actually charge your phone at the exact same speed as plugging it in directly, charging an iPhone from 0 to 60% in just 30 minutes. And if you're wondering, this fan is not loud either. The fan can actually be turned off on the charging station, for example at night, and it can dramatically cool the phone by 6.5 Fahrenheit. Not only can it fast charge your phone, but also your Apple Watch and your AirPods too. It comes in both this foldable form, which is great for traveling. So rather than bringing a mess of cables in your bag, simply just take this. It charges all your devices with just one cable. And when you're done, it simply just folds up and can go in your pocket or your bag. And it also comes in this charging station form as well, and you can charge all your devices at once on your desk. Check out the links in the video description to learn more, and thank you to ESR for sending these over. So here's what I think really killed the iPhone Air. It's not the battery, it's not the cameras, but the expectation. You see, humans or consumers are very weird. We're always demanding we want something. The companies listen, and then we're like, wait, no, not like that, and then we change our minds completely. We say we want something different from Apple, we say that phones are getting too thick and heavy, they drop the iPhone Air, and then no one buys it. It's basically like the iPhone Mini all over again. People wanted a smaller phone because they were sick of phones getting bigger and bigger. They dropped the iPhone Mini, and we all know what happened to that. And now it's the exact same with this. We're complaining that phones are too thick and heavy, they give us the iPhone Air, and this might have the same fate. I think even the average user now is considering battery life and cameras a lot more than you might think. Lots of people pretty much live on their phones now, taking all their precious photos and memories with the camera. And if you're just going to offer them a 3-in-1 Fusion camera, which is pretty much the same as the iPhone 16e, then it's not really worth it in a $999 or £999 phone at all, really. You can do a lot better for that. You could even buy last year's 16 Pro Max and get a much better phone. Sure, it won't be as thin or as light as the iPhone Air, but it's definitely going to last a lot longer. Despite all of that, the iPhone Air has actually been a really good phone for me. I've been using this as my main phone now ever since it came out, and to be honest, I'm quite impressed. Like I said, I'm a light iPhone user. I don't really have that much screen time, so the iPhone Air lasts me about 1 to 2 days. As for the camera, I'm not really a professional photographer. I've got professional cameras that I can do photography with, but if I need to capture the odd moment or selfie or whatever, these cameras are fine for that. It's pretty much like the anti-Pro or Pro Max iPhone, and if you're wondering, the speakers, they're not actually that bad. In fact, Apple does speakers very well, and honestly, I haven't been disappointed with the iPhone Air's singular earpiece speaker. In fact, when you're lying in bed and you're actually covering the bottom of the phone, it's actually quite good because you're not blocking the speaker, it doesn't sound muffled, it just sounds like it normally would. So yeah, what would I fix with the iPhone Air 2? I'd definitely add another camera. It won't look as nice, but I think it is going to be needed. A similar camera setup to the iPhone 17, I think this would do really well. Also, since battery tech is always improving, I'd suggest putting a silicon carbide battery in the iPhone Air, slightly bigger capacity, which will hopefully tempt all the people over from Pro and Pro Max, or even just the regular phones, so they can show that the battery in the iPhone Air 2 is much more improved over this one. And also, I'd try and find a way to make a tiny stereo speaker to go in the bottom. Fix all of those things, and I think the iPhone Air 2 may actually sell. But it's not addressing the main problem. Who is the iPhone Air actually for? It's not for regular users like your friends and family, but it's not for pros either. It's kind of like in a weird middle spot where it's for enthusiasts, like tech YouTubers like me. But tech YouTubers make up a very, very small portion of Apple's market share, so they're going to need to make stuff that sells, which often means playing it safe, which means really nice, risky phones like this get missed out. And that's kind of a shame to me, because the iPhone Air really did show me a glimpse that the old Apple is still there. The Apple that Steve Jobs pioneered. Not just how fast they are and how ugly they can make them look. They even had this quote in their keynote at the very start, which I think was just beautiful. I'll read it out. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. and that really does resonate with me with the iPhone Air. Apple tried something new, a thinner and lighter iPhone, but it didn't really catch on. But maybe it's not a failure. Maybe this could come back, maybe it could take off in a certain market, and we might still continue to get the iPhone Air. And also it's good because it's proof that Apple can still experiment in 2025, even if the world may not be ready for it. And if the rumours are true, the iPhone Air might return in 2027, hopefully with 2 cameras, better speakers and a better battery, and I reckon it should do a lot better. So I don't think this really is the end of the iPhone Air. I really hope that Apple doesn't see it as a flop, because sometimes the most interesting ideas don't just sell straight away. They take a bit of time, it's a bit of a slow burn effect, and maybe the iPhone Air may start to pick up. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you think of the iPhone Air. Have you got one? Do you know someone who's got one? What do you think of the battery life? Any shortcomings with the iPhone Air other people should be aware of? Or your thoughts? Why did the iPhone Air flop? Would you actually buy the iPhone Air, or has Apple just misread the room again? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.